Welcome back to Savvy Seniors. Today we have a special guest on the show. We have Brianna Urquhart, who is a registered social worker, and she's here to talk about sex with seniors. And just before break, we were talking about seniors finding love again in their later years, maybe after losing a spouse, maybe when they've moved into a retirement home, and some of the challenges with that and some of the great things about it too. Now I have a question.
Go for it.
So as I said earlier, I'm a senior now, and I grew up in the 70s and 80s, probably before you were even born, and I never had any STIs or STDs as we called them when we were kids. And now you're telling me that I've made it to the senior years and now I have to be careful about that?
It's a shocker, but yes, actually, older adults, seniors, are at higher risk than we would maybe expect, a statistically significant risk of developing an STI in their older age.
Well, that's not fair. There should be some perks to getting to be a senior. Yeah, so why is that?
Well, partially, one of the common reasons is after menopause, most women, or most couples, stop using protection because can't get pregnant anymore, so there's not that risk factor. But protection is also used to protect against sexually transmitted infections, or STDs as they used to more commonly be called. And like I mentioned before the break, there's that thinning and that change of the vaginal walls, and that actually increases your risk of infection. So the sort of that two-part situation, but also then sometimes we actually see a resurgence of sex in later times, say actually in retirement homes or community long-term care settings, because exactly like you said, people have that fresh opportunity.
Yeah, that's sweet.
And they're not thinking, I'm sure they're not thinking that they're at risk for an STI, and because it's maybe been not part of their, their intimacy because they've been without a partner for so long, and prior to that, they only had each other.
Exactly,
right?
Just like you said, there's kind of that idea, if I've made it this long, I'm safe and I'm good. Don't worry about it anymore.
I thought I was good and safe, but apparently not.
Right.
That's interesting.
So is there anything else that's important for seniors to be aware of when they, start to enjoy that part of their life again, or it's been reintroduced? Is there anything that they, any good advice that you might have for them?
I'd say definitely try not to be shy about it. Sexual health is health. We all have sexual needs, and that's totally normal and that's totally okay. And if you're in a pub like a community long-term care setting or retirement setting, sometimes it maybe is thought of as not okay and it's a little bit more uncomfortable. So I encourage anyone in that position to, if there's something that you want, or you're wanting your partner to come in, if say you're living there and your partner is not, you have that right. And those conversations can happen with the staff there, but unfortunately chances are you're going to have to initiate them because staff just tend not to.
Yeah, we know that every retirement home that we work with, and we work with a lot of them, it's when someone moves into the retirement home, that's their home. So they can go on vacation, they can have a cat, they can have a dog, as long as they can take care of it, and they can have overnight guests whenever they want.
And quite honestly, I love it when a senior moves into a retirement living and maybe they've been on their own for a number of years after their spouse passing away, and all of a sudden they're revitalized, they have that opportunity for the next love, in the next phase of life, and I think that's fantastic. I actually have a friend whose father moved into retirement living and met after his wife had Alzheimer's, so he had lost her for quite a number of years, and he moved into a retirement living. He met this fantastic woman, and they are a couple. And to see the little, step in his, that extra enthusiasm, let's call it, and his happiness is really a wonderful thing. So I think it gives everybody hope.
I kind of liken it to if, say, you've ever been to post-secondary school and you go and live on campus. It's kind of that same thing. It's people coming together in that new space, finding new friendships, finding new love, also finding new sex. Again, that doesn't have to mean love and partnership, but sex can mean a very broad thing, and that'd probably be the other piece of advice, is kind of expanding and getting that chance to explore what your definition of sex is now, what that can look like for you.
So wait a second, are you talking about foreplay?
I am.
Okay.
Ish.
Okay.
I am ish. A lot of the times, and it's kind of a young person myth, societal myth, we view sex as very cut and dry, very narrow. There is an act, there's a beginning, and there's an end goal.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. That's the goal.
Hopefully there's an end.
And even the terms we use, right? A lot of times we determine when sex is quote unquote good by if both partners, what we even say it, right? Finish.
Right.
When we're talking about changes to erection, changes to orgasm, changes to pleasure, sensitivity, that means that just very narrow definition of sex is there's foreplay, then there's sex, then there's orgasm, then we're done. That needs to be revisited a little bit, because sex is all about intimacy and connection and pleasure, obviously. And those are really the key things to look at, and how you experience those with your partner changes.
Do you talk to your clients about stuff like that? How different ways to maybe achieve the pleasure that they might not be able to achieve anymore?
Absolutely. Our first focus oftentimes is actually nothing to do with orgasm or even penetrative sex. It's all about actually reestablishing connection and intimacy, especially if as a couple you've stopped having sex for a while. Not only do you maybe forget what you like, but also you've changed since then.
Right.
And you've changed since, say, when you first started having sex.
Right.
So you constantly need to re-evolve and reestablish what is pleasure, what feels good for you. And that's actually where we start, is building that intimacy and exploring what does make each other feel good, feel attractive, and then we build from there.
Yeah, that's a whole other issue, because as we get older, we don't look like we used to look like. And that can be a huge issue, I would imagine. I would imagine that, and I don't know if it's more so for men or women, but I'm thinking that that your physical appearance, especially if you've lost a spouse and then you're going into a new relationship.
Well, I think about it. Many seniors have been in the same relationship for 50 years.
Yeah, and then and then you have to be with someone else, and that's pretty scary.